Hello my bookworms, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney, and today's video will be going over all the books that I read in the month of October, better known as my October wrap-up. So hey, what's up? How are you? I hope you're doing well. October was a weird month. It was the middle month between my night shift contract. So we are into November now, and I only have 9 shifts left of night shift, and I literally cannot wait. I can finally see the end of the tunnel, and it feels really nice. So October was tough. I 100% could not focus on anything. I completely went off my scheduled TBR, and you know what? That's fine. Like, I still read some books, and I actually had a good time for the most part. So if you know what my October TBR was, ignore it. Put it out of your head because it doesn't matter. That's not what was read this month. The first book that we'll talk about though is one that bled over from September into October. So technically, like, I finished it in October, and that's why I'm talking about it here. And that book is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I am reading this with my patrons over on my Patreon channel, and it's been really fun. A couple of us are doing really well. We're really staying on track. We're really reading the series at the pace that we pre-discussed, and then more of us are falling behind because it's a thick, like, every single book is like 600 to 700 pages. It's a dense fantasy. It kind of is. But that being said, it does a lot of things really, really well. I found that I really like Brandon Sanderson's writing, and that was really relieving to me because 1, this is my first Brandy Sandy, and 2, historically I sometimes have issues with the way that men in fantasy write women characters, and I didn't have that with this book, and I was a little nervous. I was nervous, but I had no reason to be nervous because he's a really great writer, and his world building and his political intrigue was like really top notch. I was really intrigued pretty much the entire time, and then the last like 100 pages or so, obviously shit popped off because it's a trilogy, it's the first book, they gotta set it up for the next book, and they did that. It was really good. There was some really nice like action and like battle-ish scenes scattered throughout. I really liked our main characters, and I thought that it was just all around a really well-rounded, great book. I ended up rating it a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, but I think in my heart it's like a 4.5. I sound very congested, I'm not really sure why. I did wake up like probably 1 hour ago. It's 5:43 p.m. I love this life. So apologies if I sound sick. I don't think I am. I feel fine. Physically. Emotionally, maybe not so much. Okay, yes, in my heart, I gave this like a 4.5, you know, because it definitely doesn't take that top spot of like my favorite fantasy that I've read in the past couple years or anything like that. But it was still really good. So I am comfortable with a 4.5 out of 5. I never took this down from my last video. This video is not sponsored. My last one was though. I'm gonna move this. And I'll put this here. Right after I finished The Final Empire, it was like probably 3 in the morning, and I looked at my scheduled TBR stack, you know, and I didn't want to read any of them. I was just not in the mood, you know. I finished this dense, like, heavy fantasy-ish novel, and I really, for whatever reason, my mind was like, I need a romance right now. I need to read a fantasy romance in particular, or I'm not gonna enjoy whatever you try to read. You know, that mood where it's like, I know I should be reading something else, but if I try to read something else, my mind will just keep thinking about what I want to be reading, and then I won't enjoy that. So I listened to myself, and I picked up a fantasy romance, and that one was The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It was great. Well, okay. The experience was great. It was exactly what I wanted to be reading. It felt great to be in this world again with these characters, with Poppy, Hawk, and, you know, the whole gang. This is book 3, so I don't want to, like, I don't know, potentially spoil anything. But yeah, I mean, I definitely had some issues with this book, however. I did a reading vlog for it. I don't remember what the reading vlog was. I'll put it right here, and I'll leave the link down below if you want to check it out. I really don't remember. Oh, it was Rachel made me do it. This was in the last book in that vlog. Not because Rachel chose it, but because of the prompt that she gave me, I ended ended up choosing this book. But yeah, I'll leave that link down in the description. That video was a lot of fun. I read a lot of really cool books in that video. But anyways, I digress. Like I already said in that video, but I just had some issues with the writing in this book. Like, there was one page where it's like dropping the F-bomb left and right, and then the very next page, they decided to, instead of saying like, I don't give a F, they said, I don't give a fig. And I was like, a fig? And I was just like really confused. It was things like that, and also there were just many parts in this book where like something serious might have been going on, and then Armentrout would have one of the characters make like an inappropriate joke, not sexually inappropriate, just like opportunistically inappropriate. Like, when those jokes happened, it just felt like they 100% just didn't belong. Armentrout was just trying to be funny at times where it wasn't needed. And that really could just be my opinion. Like, genuinely, I don't know. But you're here for my opinions, and that's my opinion, that I don't think that the writing matched up from page to page. I don't think that the vibes were just not all there all the time. Like, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, absolutely phenomenal. That book was a 5 out of 5. I love that book so much. But Crown of Gilded Bones, I ended up giving it like a 3.5. I think, maybe even a 3. I think I bumped it up to like a 3.5 because of like, I just really like the series. I think that it's fun. I think that it's a cool world, and you know, the things that are going on, it's interesting to me. I have a good time reading it, but I just had some issues fundamentally with this book. But yeah, this was a 3.5. Right after Crown of Gilded Bones, I decided to pick up my Patreon buddy read pick for the month, which was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. And yes, I loved this book. I thought that this book was fantastic. I get nervous picking up thrillers. Okay, because, hold on. Here's my thing. So I really like thrillers, but thrillers are so subjective. I feel like thrillers are a very mixed bag when it comes to reading them for me. It's like I will either love them or I will be completely underwhelmed by them and be kind of upset that I wasted my time. That was not the case with this one. I really, really loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think that this book was absolutely fantastic, and I loved our main character. Not in a like, I want you to be my mom sense, because that would be scary, but I just loved being inside her mind. Like, we're like basically 100% in the mind of a sociopath, and kind of. I mean, I'm not a therapist or a psychologicalist, a psychologist. So like, I have no right to try to diagnose someone, but yes, she's a little bit out there and has some issues. And that being said, she makes for a great main character, because I was really interested the whole time. In this story, we have our main character who is basically a professor at this like prestigious school. And she pretty much plays this role of finding men who deserve to die because whether they have physically or sexually assaulted a woman or helped cover something up, you know, like that type of vibe. She finds them and she kills them. And she feels very just, and she feels like she is, you know, cleaning out what is wrong with the world. And I know that that, like, idea is not new, but the way that it's written in this book, along with, like, the twists that were going on, absolutely great. Our first main character, the professor, her name is Scarlett, but our other main character is Carly. And we're following her while she's like getting used to college, and she gets this new roommate that she is actually like almost obsessed with in a way, completely, maybe like entirely obsessed with. But her roommate ends up getting assaulted by someone at a party, and then Carly tries to find out a way to deal with him. So we're following two characters that kind of have the same idea, and it was really good. It was fantastic, and I would definitely recommend it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Oh, nothing like espresso at 6 p.m., am I right? After that book, I was kind of on a thriller kick, because I felt like I flew through They Never Learn, and again, I still didn't want to read any of the books that were on my TBR. So I was practicing self-care, and I didn't force myself. So the next mood read that I picked up was another thriller, which I was very excited about. It was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And this one, also fantastic. This month really made me realize that I should really not be so scared to read thrillers, because I think that I get scared because I think that I'm gonna be underwhelmed or that I'm gonna hate them. And I know that like that might be the case. Like, I know I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I was very underwhelmed by it. I didn't really like that one too much. I liked it, but I saw the twist coming, like, you know, it just wasn't very thrilling to me. And I know that that will happen with thrillers, but my point is I need to give more chances. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, we're on to rock, paper, scissors, and this one, we follow our main characters who are married, a man and a woman, and the man has this like neurological condition where he doesn't recognize faces. So he's been married to his wife for 10 years, but if they were meeting for dinner and she was sitting at a table and he got to dinner after her, he wouldn't know where to sit because he doesn't recognize faces. He doesn't know who his wife is except by like the perfume that he buys her, or I think he can recognize that like she has blonde hair or something like that, you know, but like there's no facial recognition whatsoever, which is bananas, and I think makes this story a little bit more interesting. But now, like I said, 10 years of marriage, they are not happy. Neither of them are happy in the marriage, and they are going away for a weekend trip to this like deserted chapel that they won a weekend to for like a last ditch effort of trying to save their marriage. And then they get there and things are weird. Things are very weird. Some paranormal-esque shit is going on, and both of them have like ulterior motives for this vacation, and we don't, as readers, we don't know what they are. We just know that like there's some shady shit going on and you're just along for the ride while you're figuring out what's really happening. And I loved it. I loved it. This was a book that when I wasn't reading, I was constantly thinking about of like, man, I want to like go sit down and read. And it was refreshing because, you know, I haven't had that in a while, or what feels like a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just night shift ruins everything. I'm so dramatic, but it's how I feel. And I also feel that I gave this a 5 out of 5 for sure. I was blown away and did not see any of the plot twists really coming. They were very well placed, and I had a great time. So therefore, I gave it a 5. I think you should read it. Okay, the last book that I finished in October was the book club pick for my Patreon book club, the Nightcrawler book club. Very cute, very cute. And it was Misery by Stephen King. This was my first Stephen King book, and I planned on vlogging it. I started a vlog. I didn't like film an intro, but like I started this when I was on break at work one night. So I got like 45 minutes into the story, and I got in my car after work and I filmed a little update. That was the only thing that I filmed for the vlog. So like obviously it is scrapped. However, let me just tell you about what I think about it now. I think that it was fine. I know a lot of people love this King, and I just didn't. I just didn't. It was fine. Misery is basically about our main character, Paul Sheldon, who is a very like famous, acclaimed writer in this world. And he writes this series called the Misery series. It's like Misery Chastain is the main character, and it's like best-selling, you know. Our other main character is Annie Wilkes, who is a avid, obsessed reader of Paul Sheldon's and loves the Misery series. However, in the final book of the Misery series, Paul Sheldon kills Misery off. And that's just an important factor in the following part of the synopsis. So Paul Sheldon gets in a very bad car wreck, and he basically would have died if Annie Wilkes didn't find him on the side of the road in Sidewinder, Colorado. So Annie Wilkes takes him back to her house and nurses him back to health. He is like broken everywhere. He can't walk. He like, you know, he's really messed up. And Annie Wilkes is really messed up too, but up here. And she used to be a nurse, but she like lost her license. She was doing some shady shit that you figure out later. And she basically gets him a typewriter and makes him write another Misery book and bring Misery back to life just for her. It was fine. So there's two parts of this story for me. So on one hand, I really can understand why this book stands up. I did enjoy Stephen King's writing. I thought that it was poetic at times, which was strange for me. I wasn't expecting that. And then also it was like sharp and, you know, kind of abrasive, which is kind of more what I was expecting. So having those little like bits of poetic or lyricalness-ish in there, it was nice. I wasn't expecting it. I thought that the writing was cool. However, he drops words like cock-a-doodle and like saying you're a dirty birdie and things like that, and oh my god, it makes me so uncomfortable. And now here's my thought on that. I don't know if I should have rated it higher, because if King's point was to make me very uncomfortable with like the word choices by making Annie Wilkes talk like that, if his point by doing that was to make me uncomfortable, then this book definitely should be higher rated, because it did what it was trying to do. Like, I did not enjoy reading this a whole lot. But on the other hand, my reading experience, therefore, it just was not good. Like, I just didn't want to pick this book up. I didn't want to finish it. When I finally finished it, I literally looked at Caleb the next day when I realized that I didn't have to pick it up anymore. I looked at him and I was like, wow, I don't have to read Misery anymore. And it was like a legitimate like weight had been lifted. I felt so much better having finished this book. I think that if it was not for my book club, I wouldn't have finished it. And some of that might be because just like where I'm at on night shift, my mind I just did not like how I was feeling while reading it. And I mean, I was just kind of bored. I felt like it just wasn't entirely gripping. And that was coming off of 2 thrillers that I was like really, really into. So that might play a factor in this as well. But I just like really wasn't super intrigued by what was going on. I did really like how like frantic the last half of the book kind of got because, you know, Paul Sheldon is going through some really traumatic things. The book is pretty messed up. So like by the end, he's like kind of like has PTSD and he's kind of going through like fever dreams, so to say. So like the writing and the timeline gets pretty scattered. I thought that was cool. I did enjoy that. But there was a big chunk in the middle where I did not care. I was not having a great time. But ultimately, I gave this a 3. The last book that I tried to read in the month of October was Dune by Frank Herbert. Me and Caleb were going to buddy read and vlog this together, and that didn't happen. Need some energy to get through this book. We wanted to read it so that we could read it before watching the movie. Caleb successfully finished it. He enjoyed it, but he was not satisfied with the ending, which he said is probably because it's a series, you know, and he didn't get all the closure he wanted. But I probably got to like almost halfway, probably like 35%, maybe 40% of the way through. This bookmark doesn't matter anymore because I DNF'd it, but not because it's a bad book. This one, I do really think that I DNF'd this because it just wasn't what I wanted to be reading right then at this time in my life. Because the thing is, I was very interested in the story. I really wanted to see where it was going. I liked our main characters. I really was intrigued by the storyline, but my attention was not facilitating my desire to finish it. How I described it to Caleb was, I'm very interested in the book, but I just don't care enough to read all of it, to see it through to the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely still want to see the movie, but I couldn't care enough to sit through this many pages of the story, I guess. That really could just be me, because I do see the merit in this book. I do see and acknowledge how like well written and how well thought out all of the ideas are, but I also just was not in the right headspace and time to be trying to get through it. So it's not a DNF because it was a piece of shit book, you know? It's like I just couldn't do it at this time. But yeah, that's what happened with Dune. I'm a little bit upset about it. I had a hard time actually officially DNFing it because I felt bad. But yeah, I mean, I've said all I wanted to say about it. Maybe I'll finish it in the future, but probably not because I'll probably just watch the movie. So yes, these are all of the books that I read in the month of October. It's a kind of a short stack, which is fine because I at least finished anything. I'm just happy that I finished a book. And that's really it, because we are fully underway into our home renovation process. My last video that I just uploaded was our new house tour. So I'll put that link down in the description if you want to go check it out. I'm actually really proud of that video. So if you want to give it some love, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you are still watching, then go ahead and leave the hatchet emoji down below in the comments. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.